Let's not muck about today. Let's get stuck straight into the markets. And it was Wall Street overnight that provided the calm after the carnage on the Asian markets yesterday and also here today. So here we go. Let's go to the ASX 200, up by 0.4% after falling 3.7% yesterday. And that was off the back of those big falls in the US last night. NASDAQ, all those tech shares there down by 3.5% and those other markets down. Here's all the big tech shares. Nvidia down by 6.3%. The chip maker, Meta and Alphabet also down too. But all of these are expected to reverse today when the US markets do open. And that is absolutely the key to what took place here in Australia today. So if we go to Australia and you look at the market over the longer term here, this is what was going on, certainly as that interest rate decision from the Reserve Bank came down, and then also the press conference would have affected it. If we have a look at some of the sectors here in Australia that were affected, energy prices well down as a result of suggestions of a slowdown in the global economy. So companies like Woodside got whacked really aggressively today, Santos as well. But property companies, the REITs, the real estate investment trusts, actually picked up today after big falls yesterday, as did consumer discretionary, and retail stocks did much better today as well. If we move further forward, what we can see now is really a situation where some of the biggest shares, let's go to our biggest companies, these have the biggest influence over our market. So the Commonwealth Bank up by 2.3% today after big falls yesterday. Remember that peak in Commonwealth Bank shares? $134. BHP again also picked up around 1/3%. CSL is one that got hit hard yesterday. Its share price still very strong, $302.36. But the other banks also rebounded after their falls yesterday. But then you go to some of the other global companies in terms of the bigger companies here in Australia. ANZ down by a touch today. Wesfarmers recovered. You saw Macquarie Group, which got hammered yesterday, up by 1.5%. Goodman Group, which owns and develops rather all of those giant warehouses here and around the world for Amazon and some of the biggest companies in the world, up by 2.6%. It's reflective of many of the property companies we told you that got hammered yesterday. Fortescue shares, like BHP shares, under the influence of it. Here's one thing that fell apart yesterday in a big way. We told you yesterday that Bitcoin in US dollar terms fell more than 12,000 US dollars in a day. It was down by 18% at one stage. Today up by 2.7%. So it was below $55,000. It had been $62,000, got below $50,000. Today it's picked up by a little over $7,000 US during that time. Ethereum also, the other thing, up a little today. And here's the Australian dollar, which got yesterday below 65 US cents, has picked up by more than 1/4 of a US cent today as this calm came across not just, if you like, the stock markets, but also other parts of the financial markets that included currencies. If you go further forward into where our currency sits right now, have a look at this. The Australian dollar versus the Japanese yen. Going back over, let's say, a week ago, it was sitting at 105 Japanese yen. It's lost the best part of 10 Japanese yen to the Aussie dollar in just the space of a week. But today, a little higher against the yen as it is against most of those other currencies. The Australian dollar got sold off massively yesterday. Now, if we go also to those Asian markets that triggered the panic selling yesterday, the Japanese Nikkei, which was down at one stage 18% yesterday, today up by 10%. So rebuilding some of those gains. The Korean stock market, which had its worst day on record yesterday, up by 3.3%. And also the Taiwanese stock market, with all those semiconductor stocks there, up by 3% also. Now we start to look at some of the European stock markets. So the Stocks 50, they're starting to trade here now. This is live, down by around 1.4%, still picking up on some of those falls on Wall Street overnight. The FTSE 100 in London is down by around 2%. So one of the issues about this in terms of the stock market right now is just in terms of where it goes from here. And certainly the interest rate decision from the Reserve Bank today will calm some nerves. But remember also that message that interest rates here will not come down anytime soon. And that certainly is something that many of the big banks in particular have not factored in. So that's the way the markets sit right now.